Well, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me well. Give me a big thumbs up if you can. I had a Windows update last night and just things seem to be going a little bit strange on my computer tonight. So for anybody who's new, welcome. Let me give you a quick rundown of the format of what I do here. Let me switch over to my nice camera. So what I do is I usually sit down and I will go through something in Motionbuilder, talk about stuff, maybe teach something, and then I cut my stream. Then I take questions, and we can talk about it for a while. That usually runs for about an hour. And then I cut my stream, and then I kind of pick right back up where I left off. And everything that I talked about, I put into practice in doing some motion editing. And it's kind of a fun little way to kind of just chat and work and that sort of thing. So, screen, desktop. Get back to my desktop there. Without further ado, let's talk about Man Spider. I can't call him Spider-Man because he's not Spider-Man. He is Man Spider. So let me head on over to my tutorial that I created. So this is for some DLC for Duke Nukem Forever. And this was Dr. Proton. He was the main bad guy in the game. And he's like a big half man, half spider. He's not a traditional character. So this was handed to me by somebody who modeled this and put a skeleton into it. And let me flip over to his skeleton so you can kind of see what's going on here. Here's his hips right there, or actually his hips are right here. This is his lower spine, and you know what? Let me think about it. Let me throw on some music so you guys aren't too bored. So media, open folder. Let me know if that volume is too high or too low. Yeah, right, hand positioning. I saw this, I was like, what? And look at the clavicles. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? I rotate my shoulder from here. I guess he's a cyborg, so I guess it's okay, right? I got some noisy dogs tonight. What are you doing? Lupin. Okay, go lay down. All right. So yeah, so we got some crazy clavicles, crazy. He only has. Let's point out some flaws. I don't know if I can call them flaws, but things that will make it more difficult. Yeah, I see Lupin in the chat there. Pink wolf, or yeah, pink werewolf. So some problems of getting this character into Motionbuilder and getting motion capture or just animation applied to it if you want it to characterize. Namely feet. This guy has 4 feet, and they're spider feet. He also is missing part of his arm. And there's a reason why that they did this is because a lot of times in games you have bone counts, right? So you want to try to minimize the amount of bones that are in your character, especially in older games, since this is a much older game. So the first thing I do when I get it something like this is I just kind of look at it and evaluate it, and yeah, that's right. Old video games is rough. He's got kind of this weird thingy down here. I can't really remember what that is. I think he shot something out of it at you or something. He's got these little arms right here. But namely, I just kind of want to point out the problems of him not being able to be characterized is the fact that he has no human legs. He's also missing a forearm and a hand. There are base requirements for a character to be characterized in Motionbuilder. And so let me go open up my next file. Not need to save that. So here is what I did once I got it. I actually added in little dummy legs right here. All I need is something so that the character will characterize. I also added in a forearm and a hand joint because those are base required joints in order to be able to characterize a character. Are you two dogs whining? You go lay down. You go lay down. You're so noisy tonight. Hold on a second. Let's see if someone could come get the dogs for me. All right, let's see if we can take care. Maybe they need to go outside. So anyway, so I've added little dummy legs. These things will never export to game. They're there for Motionbuilder. He's got little pistons. He's got these little fun little joints. Like here's the piston, right? So these would probably have a name constraint on them. And point at the other end of the piston, which is on the leg, right there. Yeah, look how low poly this character is.
Do you need to go outside?
I think they need to go outside. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Dogs get to go outside and go potty. All right. So anyways, kind of wasting time here just looking at this guy in Maya. So yeah, I basically came in here and I kind of filled out the rest of the joints. So then we're going to head on over to, don't need to save that, and just close that down. Let's head over to Motionbuilder. And I think I saved this out as a working. Let's find out. So yes, I brought him in. And here he is with his little dummy legs.
Did they get fed?
No. Yeah. So he's got little dummy legs here. And he's got his kind of dummy forearm. Well, I guess technically it's a hand that he was missing. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start doing everything I need to do to get this character to be T-posed. So let's just rotate that around. See, negative 90, 0, oh, not 15. Let's go to global. There it is. 90, 0, 180. Same thing with this arm. Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's good for him. I mean, he's not super complex by any stretch of the imagination. I am not sure if they named his bones Motionbuilder naming conventions. See, we got hips, we got root, and we got hips, but I think hips is actually the lower spine. Then we got spine one. Okay, so yeah, it looks like they pretty much, well, nope, left arm. These are not Motionbuilder naming conventions. All right, so you get to see what happens when somebody doesn't name something with Motionbuilder naming conventions. I've gone over this in previous tutorials, but we'll just do it here again. So I'm going to head over to my templates. I'm going to grab a character. I'm going to drag it onto his skeleton. Say characterize. course, there's a problem because things are missing. So it's not going to actually characterize. I guess I should look at this as well. So he's got a top null, he's got a root. This is his mesh right there. Pretty simple. All right. I'm using a mouse and I'm fumbling. I like to use a tablet when I work in Motionbuilder. So there we go. So you know what? This is really annoying me. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a group. Oh, which had his spine in it. So I'm going to update that. So I can no longer accidentally select his mesh. So created a group, added the mesh, turned off pick so that I don't accidentally keep selecting it. All right, so let's go over to our navigator, characters, character definition. Now we're going to start filling out all the missing bits and pieces. So you can also put things like, if he's a regular character, you can put in floor and hand contacts and that sort of thing, but he's not a standard character, and we'll actually handle floor contacts using the link IK system. Let's check out the base. So let's take note of what the base is here. So obviously his legs came in because guess what? I created the legs and I named them correctly. So Motionbuilder came and they found them. They automatically filled that out. But there's a lot of other things in here that are incorrect or need to be changed, like hips and spine are not correct. So I'm gonna delete spine. I'm gonna delete hips, because I don't want what they called hips to be hips. I want what they called hips to be spine. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab the main root, and that's going to be my hips. So I'm going to hold down X, drag and drop into hips, and then I'm going to go to the hips that they called hips, and I'm going to drag that into spine. Then I'm just going to go, and you can do this a couple different ways, right? You can come in here if you know the hierarchy, and you can just find what you need and drag and drop it in here, or you can just do it right up here from the viewport, whatever works best for you. So this is his, oh, and again, if Motionbuilder crashes, I have to force quit. I hope I don't have to like reboot my whole computer like last night, but anyway, I apologize in advance if there's technical difficulties. So left arm. So left arm, populate that. Left forearm, which actually that's kind of bent, but I'll fix that in a sec. Left hand. Right arm. Forearm and hand. And he has fingers in his hand as well, so that'd be his right hand. And there's nothing in here, so if I wanted to, I can come in here and I can populate this with his actual hand. Does he have a, yeah, thumb. So one of the things I like to do is yeah. One of the things I like to do is I like to add dummy joints to fingertips. This is not something I used to do back in the day. That's why they weren't in there. But what I'll do is I'll actually come in here and I'll copy and paste. And I'll show you why. And then parent. And then I'll take that and I'll move that down to the tip of the finger. And I'll include this in the characterization. And I'll show you why. And it has to do with IK on the fingers. I'll do a couple of these fingers like this, like the thumb and the index finger, and then I'll leave the others how they are, and I'll show you why. It'll be real apparent once I do this, why I do this. So copy paste, parent, and then move that down, and I want to get this I want to get this right about there. Right about there-ish. I'll do the middle finger as well. Leave the other two. Move that down. Right about there. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the pivot point of that joint kind of on the tip of that finger. That's right. It does help keep things locked and have better IK control over the whole finger. You are correct. All right, so I'm just going to leave that like that, and we're going to go quickly populate this. So thumb, thumb, and thumb. Then index. Now there are you can have up to 4 joints in the fingers. Just FYI, that's why there's 4 here. The thumb only has 3 in this case. Let's see, there, there, and there. Middle. Middle, and the tip of the middle. Ring, ring mid, and tip. And pinky. All right. So I've got that taken care of. The last thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have a reference node in here because that's important. I'll just use the top null for the reference. Again, not worrying about a lot of these other things, especially for this demo. So with that done, I'm just kind of looking over everything. I think I might have missed the auxiliary effectors. See, left shoulder and right shoulder. Yes, I did miss them. All right, so that's his right clavicle. So let me put that into the right shoulder. And the left clavicle into the left shoulder. And now I think I'm done. So characterize, biped. Because I have all the base joints, it characterized, no problem. No errors. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create a control rig for this, and you'll see kind of what it looks like. IKFK. Let me pull this down a little bit. All right. So he's got this weird looking control rig on him now. That's okay. It's all good. So I don't want his feet to be locked because they're just there for the characterization. So this is a great example of when to go in and actually turn off pinning and IK on the feet. We'll just leave it on the hips. All right, so now I should be able to just move him around, and he should work as expected. So the next thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to rig these spider legs. I'm only going to do 2 of them. Yeah, I'm only going to do 2 of them. I've actually got a file that's already completely set up, so you can kind of see how it works after the fact. So let me turn his skeleton back on, and I'm just going to create a constraint. Insert constraint. I'm going to do a chain IK, and I'm going to create a couple little nodes, a few little nodes that I need. So asset browser, elements. I can't read it like that. All right. So I want some markers out here. So marker, marker, marker. I'm going to take this, I'm going to line that one up to the foot. There we go. When you scale these things, you don't want to actually scale them like this because it puts values here. With markers, you want to go into marker settings and you want to scale it up here. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do I don't know, circle. I think that'll work. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to make this a hard cross, scale that up. I'll put this right here. Erg. Align. Let's see, do translation rotation. All right. Take this one, and this will be my pull vector. I'll just do translation on this one. I'll just turn this into a hard cross, scale it up, and move it up to like right there. Then it's very important. This is super, super important. You want to actually go through and you want to name these correctly and give them good names. So left front leg or something like that. This would be like the control. This would probably be, you know, something else. I'm gonna have to be completely honest. I don't remember exactly all the rigging I did way back when I originally did it. But I'm gonna give you kind of the gist of it. All right, so let's get back into that constraints. Chain IK. I guess I don't need that much. There we go, right there. All right, so I'm going to select my first joint, which is that. I'm going to drag that into first joint, and I'm going to grab my end joint, which I believe would be this one, and I'm going to put it right here in end joint. Oh, I almost forgot a null. Asset browser. I need a single null. And my scene. I'm going to call that floor. And you can actually make one for each foot if you really wanted to. This will act like floor contacts. Yeah, next one down is the end. I understand, but there's something I really want to do with this leg. That's why I'm leaving it up here. And you'll see. Trust me. Trust me on this. But yeah, you're right. Typically, you'd probably in Maya, you'd probably want to put it down there. And probably have some really good Maya controls, because Maya is really good at this kind of rigging. So, all right, where was I? Chain IK. So I got my front leg, my front foot. I need my effector. I believe that's going to be my effector. So I'm going to put that in there. Oh, something I didn't think about. Just thought about it is degree of freedom. These are like robot hinge joints, just kind of like a knee or an elbow. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in some DOF settings real fast before I start turning everything on. So let's see here. I want to go to properties, degree of freedom, rotation, min, max. So I'm going to turn on showing my degree of freedom. And you can see it created this little globe around the leg. And so I want to get rid of certain twists. So I'm going to get rid of this twist. You can see it took away the ability to rotate it in that direction. Now I want to get rid of, nope, wrong one, this one, and this one. So now this leg can move like this, but I can't move it in the other degrees. So I'm going to degrees of rotation. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab this one, I'm going to do the same thing. So turn that on, same. Oh. There we go. And if you wanted to, because it looks like these are, somewhat set up nicely, as far as, the way the joints are pointing at each other and rotation and stuff, you can probably grab multiple ones and do them all at the same time. So turn that on. Don't want that one. Don't want that one. That one, that one. So there you go. So, and you could do them to everything, right? You do them to elbows. I do them to elbows a lot. Knees. Things that for a video game are problematic. Yes, they do like... Animators do like to break the things, right? Breaking joints is good, depending on when and where you do it and how you do it. Especially if something's very cartoony. Okay, where was I? Okay, so I got my degrees of freedom. I got my marker set up. I want to add my floor contact, which is this. I'm going to go ahead and hit save because, you know, crashes. Then I'm going to get my pole vectors, and that's my pole vector right there. I'm going to do one more little thing of rigging right here, which is I'm going to parent that to this. Come on. One time it's good to have a mouse. Get on there. Okay, the other way to do this is to do it in here. If you're having trouble like I am right now. There it is. I'm going to parent that. All right. So yeah, so this is now the control. In fact, I should probably rename this. See left. See front. Front left control. By the way, if you camel case the names of things in Motionbuilder, it recognizes it, and it's possible to like accidentally say like a lower L in left, and when you go into some settings, you put a capital L, and all of a sudden it doesn't recognize it. Oh, yeah, front left leg. You're right. Good catch. Front left leg. Left. No, better name. Left front leg. You'll see why in a minute. Left front leg control. All right. I'm going to try to carry my naming convention across everything that I create. Left front leg effector. There. Just going to hit rename because I'm lazy. Copy. Pull. There we go. Drop that down in there in the pole. Oh, I already got it in pole vector. You can have multiple pole vectors if you want. That's right, it's efficient. I like it. It's also, you know, I'm an artist. I misspell things because my fingers start typing faster than my brain thinks, or my brain thinks faster than my fingers type, and I'll miss a letter or something, or swap a couple letters around. So copy paste. Copy and pasting is your friend. All right, so where was I? All right, so we're gonna let's see if this thing explodes. So I'm gonna hit. Okay, so if I hit activate, what's gonna happen is it's gonna try to force everything It's going to try to just force everything together, right? But if I hit snap, it'll take any offsets that may be there, like the polar vector and how far away it is from the knee and general location it is from the knee, and it'll build in that offset. So I'm going to go ahead and say snap, snap, which activates it. Nothing happened. It's a good thing. Now let's see if this works. I'm going to grab this controller and I'm going to move it around. I don't know. It doesn't quite work the way I thought it was going to work. Should. Whoa! I grabbed the wrong thing. I think it's because I need to put rotational constraint. I didn't get the joints in the IK chain. I think you're probably right. 1, 2, left front leg, left front foot, effector. Well, I could troubleshoot this. I can. You think I skipped one? Which one? Which one did I skip? I'm excited. Let's figure this out. So I've got, where is it? It's down here. Front leg, down, front foot, and then end. Should I have put it on the end? Maybe I should have put it on the end, right? Let's try that out. Snap that. Let's see how this works now. Oh, see, it popped this down there. Which is not the effect I was going to go for. But it is giving me the IK that I'm looking for. Yeah, simple IK control, yeah. What if I push this? Wait, if I push this, no? Oh, because I got the floor contact. So here's floor contact, right? So this, if I move floor contact up, it'll gonna lift the feet. What if I did that? Like that. You know what I'm going to do? Because I haven't done this in so long. I'm just going to go open up the file that I already rigged. Which is this guy right here. So here's my scene all set up. Now let's look at what I was messing up on. So I've got my foot control. I can do this kind of cool thing like this to make it like move around and kind of give it that that spider feel. I have my pull vectors right up here. Which will help out. And I think I didn't put a DOF on that joint originally. There we go. So yeah. And then I also ended up rigging this right here, which has its own little control. Boop, 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 boom, boom. Well, I guess my prep last night wasn't preppy enough. But what I did do last night, and let me get back to my stance pose, is I want to show you. Here, let me grab him. It's moving all around now. Bonk, bonk, bonk. All right. So we want to mirror poses, right? So there's some very specific settings that you have to go through to mirror poses on these extra joints. I'm going to pull my resources out because, well, just because, and we're going to look at this real fast. So these are in character extensions, and what you need to do is you need a reference node. Usually it's in the middle of the body. Sometimes you can it'll be in the shoulder. But I took this little body control, which is right here, which is that purple box, and it's constrained to him. And I dragged it into my reference object. So that's giving me my my ZY, or yeah, XY? No, ZY. Where is my body? There it is. Yeah, it's giving me my Y and Z axes, mirror plane. And then let me go back over to my character extension. I then need to come in here and remember I told you naming is very important. So if I come here and I look at all these names, you can see it's left front control, left front foot effector, and so on and so forth. Same with the right side. It's all the same, across the board. That's important because when you come over here and start selecting this, you actually have to get rid of the left. So it's just front control, front foot effector, front knee on both this is the left front leg, and this is the right front leg, and you can see that these names are the same. And it's because Motionbuilder is going to go, oh, these are custom property tags, so that I know to if they just read each other, so that they can they know where they're at in space and who they're working with. And then I say my mirror partner, and you come up here and you select your mirror partner. In this case, it'd be right front leg because I have my left front leg selected. So let's go over here and set a pose. Pose control. So let's say that's my pose. There we go. Now if I move this someplace else and I go ahead and I set my pose, you can see it sets the pose. But I want to be able to mirror this pose as well. So I'm going to click on mirror. You can see there's my mirror plane. And make sure I'm in full body. I am. And if I mirror it, you can see that I'm now mirroring the pose back and forth with those legs. So whatever it is I happen to do. Funny enough, when I first did this, I want to say I was using Motionbuilder 2012, and the mirroring just worked in 2012. It's like I set these up and it just worked, but then I came into 2018, 2016, 2019, and all of a sudden it's like it didn't automatically set them up to mirror. So I had to get in and I had to learn where to actually go into properties and figure out how to get stuff to mirror. So things like when you're rigging a character and you have weapon joints in your hands, a lot of times if you want to be able to mirror those weapon joints, you'll need to set this up for a character. So anyway, here we go. Here's Mr. Proton, bad guy, all rigged up and ready to go. Now, you're probably going, well, how do you get motion capture onto this guy? So, oh, almost forgot. If you want your stance pose, you can select all your character extensions. Here you go. Here's my left front leg, right, back. You can see how it's populating everything. They have stance pose. So if you've created a character extension, you've added them to your character. You can see they're all added right there. You'll want to update your stance pose from the default position, because if you ever are in a situation like this where things aren't quite where they started out, you can click go to stance pose and it will put them back into place. Or you can click up here. But if you ever need to reset your stance pose, that's where you go to do it. I won't do it here, but let's say for some reason I needed this over here. I could do that. I can select those two character extensions and say update, and it will update them in that location. All right, so on to motion capture. Let's see, how can I do this without crashing everything? Oh, we're living on the edge, people. So let me go ahead and I will merge in some animation. And I'm going to add a namespace to this, just so that there's no naming clashes that happen. All right, you can't see him. He's this little gray skeleton right here. So this was motion capture that was put onto a character that I pulled out, and now I'm going to retarget from that character to this character. So let me do a couple little things here. Get back to my editing. There we go. So I'm going to go down to properties. First, let me go select this guy. Mocap. Here we go. There he is. I'm going to select the whole skeleton. Let's see. I'm going to come down here to skeleton node settings. I'm going to increase the size of his skeleton. I'm going to change the color to something that I can easily see. And hit play. So here's a walk. And let's see, here's a burst through a door. That's kind of cool. We'll start with the walk. He's got a gun arm too, but it's on the other arm. Oh well. Well, this guy happens to be already characterized. So all I have to do is I got to go to my character and I will, let's see, I will just say character. And you can, if I come in here and turn on his skeleton, you can see his little dummy feet in there trying to walk. There they are. So what do I want to do? I want to get him to read this better. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to turn off his feet, so his feet no longer match. I'm going to expand this so I can see what I'm doing. Play. Let's go to retargeting. So I'm going to first I'm going to match my source, so you can see he's actually following the character now. His spider legs aren't. We'll take care of that in a little bit. But he's following a little bit better now. I think the mocap reference is probably too small. I think he needs a root joint. So let me throw in a null in there. Asset browser null. Zero it out because I didn't zero it out. And that should allow me to scale this guy up a little bit, get him to be a little bit bigger of a character with bigger movements. This is just playing around now, just trying to figure this out. Let's go back to my character. And I'll start playing with some of these things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my mass center compensation. And I'm going to start playing with a few of these other settings, say hips level. Let's push them up there a little bit. I don't know if his realistic shoulder solving will really work on this guy, but I'll turn it on anyway. Good measure. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a couple of constraints. So I'm going to save what I got. And I'm going to create a folder, because this is kind of a big mess. Throw this down into a folder. And I'm going to create a new constraint. I'm going to create a point constraint. Where is it? Or position constraint. That's right. Maya's point constraint. Motionbuilder's position. And I'm going to duplicate that 4 times, or 3 more times. So I am then going to, so what's going to happen is I'm going to get the mocap feet to control the spider feet. So that would be, so if I think about it, he is right leg forward, so I'm just going to move that forward and move this back. I'm going to get him in the initial poses. So what's going to happen is the right foot on the mocap is going to control the front right and back left. And the opposite is true for the other side. So the position, this will be constrained object. This will be mocap object. I'm going to snap, but not lock, because I want to be able to move this later. And fine-tune and adjust. And then, let's see, this one, strained. and parent. Snap. Up, snap, 3, this back leg. All right, so now if I hit play, you can see he's starting to walk. He's starting to get kind of that movement. It's giving you kind of a starting point to start working with. One of the things he does do, see, I think I got my floor contacts on, which is this right here. Let me lower that back down to the ground. Some of his feet are actually going through the floor, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe. Yeah, a little bit. These are going through the floor. The foot that's up should be this foot. When it plants on the ground, chunk, I want to make sure, where is it? I want to make sure that this is zeroed to the ground. Again, because it's got a constraint, without being locked, I can move these around. So that way, the reason why I did that, where he starts, he kind of starts on the ground already, but one foot's kind of like already starting to make its way up. So as he's in the air, I want to make sure that these are in the air as well. So if you can imagine, if you had your actor kind of like really like kind of like lumbering along because you know he's going to be part of this this character, you could be like get some really cool movement. I'm kind of forcing like mocap that was shot for one character onto another character here for an example. And because everything's a character extension, when it comes time to actually bake stuff down, you can totally bake stuff down. And you're good to go. So come in here and I can start playing with some of these. Let's see what happens. No, probably not translation, probably just rotation. Don't want that. Want that. Maybe get that arm up there like so. So now I'm just playing with some settings to kind of get it close. So there we go. So when you have, I don't know, if this was like a typical biped character, because 4 legs, right? Biped, 4 legs. There's a specific way that dogs, cats, horses, as they kind of walk, how they kind of pick their feet up and put them down in kind of a cadence with each other. And with spiders and other creepy crawlies that have 3 or whatever, 6 legs and 8 legs, they kind of have a different kind of creepy way that they kind of crawl around the floor. But he's kind of a hybrid, right? He's not quite, you know, an insect like a scorpion or arachnid like a spider. He's kind of like a quadruped with spider type legs. So you kind of have to think about how would this character, how would these legs move in relation to each other? And this is one of those things I'd have to sit here and I'd have to think about for a while, because I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how to handle it without actually getting in there and animating. But what this gives me is it gives me kind of a head start in the animation process. Let's look at one of those other animations real fast while we got him on here. This bursting through the door. Let's see what this looks like. And if I thought a leg was out a little bit too far, I could always take it and I can pull it in like that. I could come to areas where they're like, where it feels like the legs might be like, you know, clipping into each other. And like do little adjustments so that when I bake the data down, it's easier to work with. And it is 9:30, which is, I've actually kind of gone past my normal allotted hour of tutorials. So if y'all, now's the opportunity to ask questions, and my attention is now focused on chat, and I can try to answer questions the best I can, and so yeah. And then I think what I'm going to do is when we're done here, I'm going to kill my stream like I normally do, start up again, pick up right where I left off, and just start motion editing this and trying to make it kind of like a you know, cool animation. I think I will admit right off the bat that I am not the most efficient rigger in the world. That's not my job. My job is to animate, but I know enough about rigging to kind of like get by and to do things that I need to do. There are definitely people much better at setting up IK and all that sort of thing, but yeah. Let's look at this other walk. Oh yeah, question about the stage. I guess you're talking about the one that you saw at in that RTV that I kind of replayed. The dimensions. Are you talking about the dimensions of the capture volume? Yeah. All right. So see if I can remember. I know with 12 prime 41s you can get a 15 foot by 15 foot by 15 foot by 15 foot by 9 foot volume, right? But we have a much a tighter space. So I don't think we have a full 15 feet. We have probably closer to, I want to say 12 foot by 8 foot maybe, or 10 feet, something like that. So I'll give you a quick history of our system. So we originally had 26 cameras or 30 some. I think we ended up getting around 32 cameras altogether. And we would actually go to a sound stage and we would set up all of our cameras in a big volume, and we'd be able to do running and walking and everything. We had ramps, we had ladders we could climb up, and we ended up setting up a full performance stage for performance capture, with head cams and audio guys, boom mics and everything. And the Prime 41s worked pretty good in the space that we had, with the intention that eventually we're going to be putting them into a much larger space. And then time went on, and the company grew, and then we got animation departments in other studios. And the system, which started in Austin, eventually traveled to the UK, and then it traveled to Germany, then it traveled back to the UK. And then at some point we decided to split the system amongst the different studios. And they each got 11 cameras, and I got 12 cameras. And so 12 cameras came back to Austin. Meanwhile, over in our Derby studio, they've been building up the system, and they've actually since then have combined, I think, all the cameras that are over there in the Europe UK area, and have added a bunch more cameras to it. So they have a pretty nice setup over there. We would continue to go to the stage. It was a big 60 foot by 50 foot sound stage we would go to, and we would set up cameras at its maximum. So with 12 Prime 41s, you can get, the setup volume is a 31 foot by 31 foot, and that gives you the 15 foot by 15 foot by 9 foot volume. So it's 30 by 30 by 10 foot, if I remember correctly. Or no, 9 foot up to the camera lens. And that's what gets you the volume. And so we would take the whole system, because they're OptiTrack. It's real easy to take OptiTrack, tear everything down, go set it up really fast, be calibrated in just a few hours, and be ready to shoot. Well, fast forward through time, and we started going into the other side of the studio, and we were needing to be able to capture more animations on the fly. So we got permission to actually set up a small volume in our animation pit. So yeah, Prime 41 is definitely overpowered for our space. I have to turn the LEDs down really low. But that's the story of how we ended up with such powerful cameras in such a small space. Yeah, when I started out using Viacom, and it was back when oh shoot, what was the software? It was the 1.0 version of their last version of software. Oh, it's escaping my memory because I'm tired. Blade. That's right, Blade. So we used Blade when it very first came out, like 1.0. And that's kind of what I learned on. And that was at 3D Realms. And that's actually what this motion capture data you're seeing came from that Viacom system. And then I went over to id, and I worked at id for a while, and id had a Viacom system. And then I went to Lightbox after I was at id, and we went and shot all of our motion capture at House of Moves, which was Viacom system. when I got hired at Cloud Imperium, uh, one of the things I was tasked was to build up the animation department. We wanted to do motion capture. I had to go and I did all this research. And at the time, we were only like $6 million in the bank, right? So our stretch goal at $10 million was we get a motion capture system. And at that time, this is mid 2013, we didn't know how big Star Citizen was going to be, how big the company would get. We were planning our game based around the fact that we may only have $20 million or $10 million if we're lucky to work with. So with a lot of these things in mind, it was like, well, I did the research and I said, I found OptiTrack and I talked to them. They flew me out. I got to see the whole, and by the way, none of this is secret. All this stuff has been on our, everything I'm talking about has been on our web series that we've put out. But so yeah, I went to the OptiTrack where, I think they're in Washington if I remember correctly, and or is it Seattle? Or is it near Seattle, Washington, or Oregon? That's right. I flew into Washington, and then we had to drive down into Oregon, if I remember correctly. I forget which college campus it's right next to, but yeah. So they brought me out there. I took a tour of their facility. I thought it was great. The price was great. It was like nowhere near as expensive as a Vicon system, and I think it really fit the bill. I do, however, think that hindsight being 2020, I wish we were using like Blade, specifically for the exporter, because I'm not a huge fan of how OptiTrack's system exports skeletal data. It has definitely improved over time, but I love how when I export Vicon data, it's like rock solid, great skeleton, comes with, the markers come out with it. It's just OptiTrack's getting there. I think they've made a lot of vast improvements. I think if they can get that skeleton export, they're definitely going to be right up there with Vicon as far as quality is concerned, because really, if you don't have a good skeleton that your mocap comes out onto, you can spend a tremendous amount of time on the back end doing motion editing or even just trying to get a good solid retarget. So anyway, I don't know. I probably went on longer than I anticipated. But yeah, there have been a lot since 2.0. There have been a lot of vast improvements in the OptiTrack system. Yeah, 2014. So yeah, 2013 for me, 2014 for you, and they have improved quite significantly. Yeah, has it been six years? Yeah. Yeah, I was walking out to my car recently. When we started our working at the studio, we started in this basement and we were there for like a year, and then we moved into a bigger space that fit us better, and we've been there since 2004, January of 2014, I want to say, and I just realized I've been parking in the same space for how long now, or roughly the same space, and how many, like 6 years I've been walking the same route out to my car. Has it been 6 years? Yeah. Yeah, this is it's probably the longest I've been at at any game studio. So, very fortunate. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to kill this stream, and I'm going to restart it up again in like 2 seconds, just so that they become 2 separate videos. And I'm going to get in, I'm going to start motion editing one of these animations. And I'm going to let you all decide which one we're going to work on. We've got the combat idle, which is pretty boring. We've got this bursting through door, which is pretty exciting. We've got this combat walk, which is, it can be pretty cool. I think it'd be pretty cool. It's a combat walk normal. He's just casually walking like he's a combat dude. So I'm going to let you guys decide what you want to see motion edited, and I'll be right back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.